Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Sorry for making you wait first and making you wait in silence. To always flag a copyright thing when I put some music. So thank you for being here. I hope you had a very productive week. Certainly, we had a crazy week, especially in New York with the climate week with UN. Um, UANGA, whatever they call it, ANGA, I hate the name, but UNGA 79. Also with various conferences and events. So I'm kind of happy that it's winding down and sort of we can enjoy the weekend. But today we have so many actual news. If you think that today was sort of a slow day or it was all about, Trump and rally and Zelensky and whatever, I have so many readouts, really so many readouts to present today that are very insightful and nerdy as I am. I think it's entertaining. So please entertain me by listening to this. If you're joining for the first time, please add your voice to our conversation, ask questions, share your opinion. Um, Provide any ideas, or if you think that what I'm saying you've heard something different, let me know. We research it and I gladly stay corrected if needed. Okay, so this is a conversation together. This is not a monologue. But first, let's start with the biggest and the most important update today. Let's please pray and let's please do what's in our ability to help those who have suffered from this incredible Hurricane Helene. Um, the pictures are devastating, the videos are devastating, but the stories of real people having suffered are so devastating. So, whatever you can do, whether it is physically aid somebody or welcome somebody to your home or whatever, help them with arrangements because they had to leave their home, or just to say a prayer or just to listen to my report on this, do what is in our ability because we don't know what will happen to us in some day. It's not reserved for a specific state or a specific city or part of our land or whatnot. It can happen really anywhere, and it's just getting worse. And so, having this compassion and having each other in our prayers is really, really important. So, I really hope that you're doing well, and I hope that your loved ones are doing well and they're safe and alive too. Now, President Biden has been briefed. Um, this morning by FEMA Administrator Criswell on the initial impacts of Helene. I have a picture of him being briefed. He expressed his prayers for everyone affected by the storm, including those who lost their lives and the survivors still facing its consequences. At his direction, the FEMA administrator traveled to Florida to survey the damage and meet with state and local officials. The president approved emergency declarations requests from the governors of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Over 1,500 FEMA and federal personnel were deployed to the region, including 11 urban search and rescue teams, medical teams, and power restoration teams. Federal resources supported approximately 400 rescues. The administration stood ready to provide further support as needed and remained in close contact with state and local officials. As the storm continued northward, the president urged residents to remain vigilant and heed the instructions of local authorities. But if you are perhaps not in the US, or perhaps you missed out on the news, this is, for instance, Asheville, North Carolina, where I had a privilege to live and study at some point. Just look at the video.
Oh, it's going to hit the truck. It's going to hit the truck. But it'll probably go to the side of it. Oh, there. Well, actually, it came up a little bit. The truck came up a little bit.
Is that a guy down there? Is that
Yeah, I think there's somebody. Well, there's them here. I think there's somebody in that truck. We can't get our 911 to work. Oh my God, dude.
And so there are way worse videos with houses completely covered underwater. So if you're looking for any numbers or any contacts with FEMA, just let me know because we do get that. And certainly, whatever I can do, I will share. Now, Biden-Harris administration also released a fact sheet, which is let's not see it from the perspective as them tooting their horn and like saying, "Oh, we did great," but really as a sample as what has to be done next time we're facing this. So they said the Biden-Harris administration has implemented comprehensive measures to support preparation and response efforts as Hurricane Helene approached. President Biden and Vice President Harris are actively monitoring the situation and coordinating with state and local officials. So the key actions were emergency declarations prior to landfall. The emergency declarations were approved for Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, enabling FEMA to assist with emergency measures. A public health emergency was declared for Florida and Georgia to enhance healthcare flexibility for affected populations. Then deployment of federal resources. They deployed over 1,500 federal personnel, also urban search and rescue teams. 14 teams with swift water rescue capabilities were positioned in affected states. Then U.S. Coast Guard, approximately 8,000 personnel are engaged in search and rescue operations, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers teams are ready for emergency power restoration and infrastructure assessments. Then they talked about pre-positioned supplies. They delivered 2.7 million meals, 1.6 million liters of water, and various emergency supplies were pre-staged in the region. And tanker trucks with 70,000 gallons of diesel and 40,000 gallons of gasoline were prepared to support impacted communities. And then they talk about post-storm support and recovery, which I think this is the important part right now. The Department of Energy is monitoring power restoration efforts, and the Environmental Protection Agency is coordinating with various partners to ensure public health and environmental safety. And housing and nutrition assistance will be provided. So they're working on with public housing authorities to assess damage and assist residents. And USDA has approved operational flexibilities for school lunch programs in Florida. Ongoing assessment and data collection. So NOAA, that Trump wants to close if he, God forbid, wins. Aerial teams are collecting data to understand storm damage and ensure navigational safety post-storm. And the Biden-Harris administration remains committed to life-saving and life-sustaining efforts as Hurricane Helene impacts the Southeast. Ongoing coordination and support are critical as the situation evolves. So, again, just a readout. A readout doesn't mean anything. I hope you're safe. I hope your family is safe, and I hope you're well. Let's see in the comments. You went to university in a few places, you know the land by experience. Yeah, I went to North Carolina. I went to school actually in Netherlands, in Holland, Netherlands. Oh, and then I think top 3 students were transferring for dual degree to US. And so I was transferred to Carolina. And then that's where I graduated with Netherlands and there with the dual degree. So actually I had 3 degrees. This is all tragic. It's going to be an economic hit, lots to rebuild. Yes, Keith, absolutely. But also on the human part, it's so important to support each other, and it's difficult to even fathom, I saw some post. I was deliberating to show it to you or not, and I decided not to spread it. But MAGA posts that Biden used drones to redirect a storm to Republican areas in Florida. Because after the storm, people won't be able to vote. And how about the ballots that were mailed and now they're drowned? And take a pill. Will Biden or Harris visit? I think they will. And I think both. That's what I guesstimate. President Biden is flying to Germany on October 17th, but I think until then, yeah. Also, speaking of Biden, and speaking of a different readout, which we will have discussion on this in general a bit later, but Biden has been briefed several times today by his national security team on the latest developments in the Middle East. Of course, we have heard and we watched these videos. I'm going to show them to you. Netanyahu spoke at the UN today, bypassing meeting anybody who mattered, but with a very interesting speech, if not to say the least. And meanwhile, bombed Lebanon. And so given that, President Biden has directed the Pentagon to assess and adjust as necessary U.S. force posture in the region to enhance deterrence, ensure force protection, and support the full range of U.S. objectives. He has also directed his team to ensure that U.S. embassies in the region take all protective measures as appropriate. The president will continue to receive regular updates. And also, I just got in, that's why you had to wait. I just got in the update from Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, on Israel and on what happened. So I'm going to add that to our topic when we talk about this. So, also, President Biden released a statement today on the August PCE report. He says, quote, today's report shows inflation has come back down to 2.2%, similar to pre-pandemic levels at a time when interest rates have fallen, lowering the cost of buying a home or a car or operating a small business. This follows yesterday's news that on my watch, the economy has grown more than 10% and incomes are up nearly $4,000 after accounting for inflation. The economy, income, savings, and consumer spending are all stronger than previously estimated. And so, of course, then he mentioned that there's still work to do, obviously, with the price gouging, with hereby lowering the cost of living and also cost for food and gas and whatnot. So also, we're not disregarding anything else, but certainly has to be stated that in August, inflation went down. Next thing is President Biden. Today, he traveled to Scranton, Pennsylvania, where he's from. And before we get into any debacle and who, what, and what, I'm going to share exactly what happened because I think at least all of us here we kind of like Biden, right? And we kind of like his emotional and personal side. So that truly depicts that. And by the way, it's all going to be in your newsletter. So if you have to run, and I understand, get your free newsletter, onest.substack.com, honest with without an H, ONEST, it's .substack.com. If you decide to support, I'm grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody just texted me, how are your parents? They're fine. Thank you so much for asking. But that's the noise. So you're going to get everything in the newsletter. Now, President Biden delivered emotional eulogy for his childhood best friend, Thomas Bell. So if you have ever listened to President Biden talking about his childhood, talking about his friends, there is his very special best friend with whom he stayed in touch up until the very last day. And so he passed away. And today, President flew to Scranton to his funeral. So President Biden attended the funeral of his childhood best friend, Thomas Bell, honoring a lifelong bond rooted in shared history and cherished memories. Speaking at the church where he was baptized, Biden reflected on their deep connection, highlighting their family's friendship that spanned generations. Quote, Tommy knew how much I cared about the Bell family and how much I cared about Scranton, Biden stated, emphasizing the lasting impact the city had on him. He thought about his childhood with Bell, describing a close-knit group known as the Gang of Four. Saturdays were filled with adventures, from watching movies to climbing trees and imagining crocodiles in the river. Quote, nothing was mundane, the ordinary was boring, and the extraordinary was thrilling, end quote, he said. Biden recalled how Bell supported him during his struggles with stuttering, likening him to a coach who inspired confidence. He was a friend with a special heart who always put light in your heart, Biden shared, describing Bell as larger than life. The president remembered how, during his presidential campaign, Bell encouraged him, instilling a belief in his potential. Emphasizing Bell's character, Biden stated, if I had to define Bell in a single word, character. Immense character. He acknowledged the profound impact Bell had on those around him, including Biden's own family, noting that his sister Valerie was deeply affected by the news of Bell's passing. Biden became emotional during his eulogy, admitting, I apologize. I'm supposed to be the president and not get emotional, but Tommy brings out all the emotion in me. And so Biden shed tears. He reflected on the comfort he found in Bell after the loss of his son, Bo, and shared poignant insights on grief, saying they will come. When you open that closet and smell a fragrance, brings a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. Before Biden spoke, Bell's daughter, and speaking of character, Bell's daughter delivered her own eulogy and thanking the president for his support during this difficult time. She noted that he embodied the idea that all roads lead back to Scranton, echoing the sentiment of their inseparable childhood friendship. Biden concluded his remarks, received standing ovation from the crowd, and made a sign of the cross and returned to his pew. So, right after Right after he exited the eulogy, he was immediately briefed on the strikes on Beirut by his national security team and separately was briefed on the latest impacts of Hurricane Helene. So, and then media was screaming at him and he did not answer questions. So that's President Biden's trip. I see you got your blue. Yeah. Yesterday I was on the review suddenly. I guess they reviewed me. Hey, Michael. Yeah. I was converted into Biden lover post 2020. He's an empathetic and decent man, and he's worked hard to keep his promises. Same here. Yeah. Him as VP under Obama, of course, we're kind of like focused on Obama, and then he said this is a big effing deal. That's sort of like when we start paying attention to him, at least on my end. But yeah, certainly a good guy. Talking about not good guys, a guy. Let me take you back. The UN week was happening. President of Ukraine Zelensky was received very well at the UN, despite of that New York Times is telling you that the events did not welcome a lot of people and the enthusiasm of supporting Ukraine is declining. All of that is BS. Why? I was there. I've seen it. I even streamed what I could stream. Let's please put all this BS aside, okay? So you UN and everybody else received Zelensky very well. What President Biden did, as you know, he plays chess, not checkers. He fully understands that we do have a possibility of Donald Trump returning to the White House. We can't deny it, it's there. So he bent over backwards to convince all the countries, 30 plus countries, including his own government, to issue the most support that Ukraine can get before January 20th to ensure that in case Trump returns back and claims the White House a Trump house and exits NATO and does all sort of shenanigans, that Ukraine has military equipment and has funds and has medical aid and has all sorts of aid that is included in the PDA, President's Drawdown Package, Assistance Package. Now, Zelensky spoke. First, Biden spoke at the UN. He talked about Ukraine, unwavering support. He changed the language as much as also VP Harris changed the language as to we're supporting Ukraine until they win. They start talking about Ukraine winning very clearly. So that was the big change. Now, Zelensky then spoke again, support. It all went down to the event on Thursday that I shared the videos from, where 30 plus leaders, plus European Union leaders, the union's leaders, right? Of course, there was the France and Poland and everything, but plus the European Union itself. Ursula von der Leyen, she's the commissioner, plus United States. They all signed a joint statement of supporting Ukraine until the win, which of course had to be backed up by money. And so they allocated, both Europe and both America, allocated $50 billion partially from the assets and the profits off of the Russian assets to use for rebuilding Ukraine. It was called Supplemental Thing 2, Rebuild, Restructure Ukraine after the win, right? There, at the event, I saw it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears. Starmer, PM Starmer, United Kingdom's PM Starmer said we're going to give Ukraine $3 billion annually until they say stop. Same Italy, same Canada, right? So each country, per Biden's advice and hint, and probably more, they signed off to support Ukraine independently, right? So countries independently, all together as a joint thing. That was the biggest event and announcement. Same day, Biden returns to the White House from New York, and he signs off a new, first of all, a new immediate package for Ukraine, over $350 million. All the equipment that is, all the missiles and supporting equipment and aid, what's supposed to be happening at this time. Plus, he issues a statement as to he is directing 7.9 billion dollars to Ukraine, ensuring that this aid will be delivered before his term ends. So, by that time, everybody supports you. $50 billion here, 30 billion will be also added in Europe off of Russian assets. All the countries are supporting you. United States is supporting you. Zelensky arrives in Washington, D.C., meets with Biden. They have a meeting at the Oval Office where Biden again confirms everything, shakes his hands. Great. He meets Vice President Harris at the White House, at the vice presidential residency. She's a room where, they meet. So a big event. So she has a press conference. Careful. She has a press conference with him. It's a bit flirty, it's a bit wonderful. She's very respectful of him. It's two leaders talking to each other. They were at the table. Here you see Zelensky on the right, Yermak, who holds no position, but he's his right hand. On the left, you see Kamala Harris. Closer to us on the left, the gentleman is Gordon, equivalent of Sullivan for National Security Advisor. For Kamala Harris, equivalent of Sullivan for Biden, right? Same day, Putin decides to give a press conference where this mofo, he bombed my house. I have a right to say it. He gives a press conference where he appears to be a moth. I don't know. Anyway, so he shows the rockets, the big rockets. He has the big rockets. He's a rocket man. He has big rockets. And in that briefing, he says, well, if a non-nuclear state supported by nuclear state, referring to Ukraine and US, is striking another nuclear state, Russia, we will see it as a war. We will see it as an act of war. Then yesterday I was at the event with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who was confronted with this exact questions. And he said that it's another rhetoric from Putin. He just wants to scare NATO allies from supporting Ukraine. So no panic on Titanic, same old, same old. Everybody's continuing. Everybody's staying by Ukraine. Then Trump suddenly posts weird messages. I didn't share it. I think it's fake. I still think it's fake. But, messages like this, like, oh, it came from Deputy Ambassador of Ukraine. Allegedly, it's from Volodymyr Zelensky asking Trump to meet because it's so important. I can't be at the Trump Tower on Friday. Let's meet. So he shares it. He shares that. What happened before is, before arriving in the United States, Zelensky openly declared that he plans to meet with Biden and show his victory plan with Biden, also to Congress. And yes, he met with them. I covered it yesterday. He was in Washington, D.C. He met them, both parties, Schumer and McConnell, wearing all this Ukrainian flag-inspired ties. Remember that picture? And so he said also, we're going to meet both VP Harris and Trump, because those are two candidates, probability, either of them, will be president. So we're going to show this joint plan. We all discuss, who should he, maybe, what not. But okay, he insisted. That's the thing. While Zelensky was addressing UN, while Zelensky was met with such, support by the 30 world leaders and Biden and the EU, and they gave all the money and all of it, Trump kept, excuse me, shitting on him at every single rally, talking him the biggest salesman. Then Ukrainians flipped in the media and said, this is actually praise because Trump is a businessman. So he praised him. It's the greatest salesman. No. So talking all of this, like the war shouldn't be happening, Zelensky's a clown, da, da, da. 3 days he's pooping on him. Allegedly, Zelensky then asks for this meeting. Let's assume this message that I just briefly showed you is fake. Okay, Trump made it up. Still, Zelensky decides to leave Washington, D.C. after all this wonderful meeting with Harris and Biden and all the money that he got and fly to New York City to meet Trump at the Trump Tower. Let's watch some clips, and then I'm going to tell you what is politically wrong there. That is their press conference. By the way, they didn't let any type of media in it, only those who have him on speed dial, if you know what I mean. First clip.
And I will say I have had a great relationship. It was very honorable. I don't even know if you know this, but when they did the impeachment hoax, it was a hoax, just a Democrat hoax, which we won. But one of the reasons we won it so easily is that when the president was asked, it was over a phone call with the president, and he said he could have grandstanded and played cute, but he didn't do that. He said, President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. He said it loud and clear, and the impeachment hoax died right there. He could have said, well, I don't know, I don't know. And I never even told you this, to be honest, but he was like a piece of steel. He said President Trump did nothing wrong. We had a very nice call. He congratulated me on his victory. You just won. And I remember that.
Somebody passed Zelensky a bucket. But Zelensky's there. He's standing, he's listening. He looks like a boy who came to see Daddy. Another clip.
We have a very good relationship. And I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it
I
resolved.
hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have. Oh, I see. Yeah. But you know, it takes two to tango. You know, and we will. We're going to have a good meeting today. And I think the fact that we're even together today is a very good sign. And hopefully, we'll have a good victory because. The other side wins. I don't think you're going to have victories with anything, to be honest with you. So we're going to sit down, just discuss it. And if we have a win, I think long before January 20th, before I would take the presidency, it's January 20th. But long before that, I think that we can work out something that's good for both sides.
Logan Act, Logan Act, Logan Act. He just said, before I even step into the office, we're going to have a deal. So let's not talk about why Zelensky was there. Let's talk about what could have been done politically. If I were to advise him, I worked for Ukrainian mission to United Nations as a political advisor. So entertain me for a second. In this constellation, where Trump openly declined meeting Zelensky, after Zelensky said we want to meet with Kamala Harris and with Trump, the ball was on Zelensky's side to say that, look, we offered to meet. We were there in New York to meet. Unfortunately, Trump declined, but he knows where to find us. We're open to talk to him in person or virtually to discuss our plans and to present it. So we still consider both candidates as equivalent, parties to speak to. So let Trump reach out to you. He needs to reach out to you. He want to know what the hell is in your plan. So let him reach out to you after he shat on you for 3 days. Now, imagine the message is real and he got his meeting. In the meeting, instead of nodding that he has a good relationship with Putin, claim your spot. It's two leaders. Actually, no. One is a nobody, is a former president. Anything he tells you and promises you means nothing, absolutely nothing. You don't know if he wins. This ain't happening on that November 6th when, let's say, Trump won. Let's imagine this horrific scenario. So he won. Now Zelensky is meeting him. Okay, well, he's an incoming president, and I got it. You will have 4 months to do that shenanigan. You do it now, before he is anybody or not. Why? You have 37 days. You couldn't wait? You couldn't notch another flight? You could win. I mean, in 37 days. So you're meeting somebody who holds absolutely no decision power. All his decision power is from licking Putin's butt, right? He's his asset. He's going to call Vladimir Putin and just tell him the story. Fine. Why not then negotiate directly with Putin? That's my ask then. Now, he's standing in this meeting. You can say one thing. I am here to talk to former President Trump because he's the candidate. Now, given this week, my country, who is for 2.5 years in suffering from Russian invasion, where people are dying every day and being targeted, civilians are being targeted. Now, I have been promised $7.9 billion in aid, $50 billion from Russian assets. Now, I am seeking knowledge from former President Trump as to when he maybe wins. What is his strategy regarding this aid? Will I be able to count on it? When he says he will resolve and he will make a deal because he has a good relationship with Putin, does that involve capitulation for my country? Does this involve giving up my territory? I'm here to listen, to present my victory plan, but also to listen and learn what is Trump's stance, on my issue. So if he wins, I will have time to prepare physically, mentally, economically, militarily to what's to come. Next, when Trump says, I'm going to give a call, we're going to resolve. Good point to say, we can resolve it now. You can call Putin right now, and we can end this war right here. You want a big moment? At Trump Tower, you can end this war. Tell Putin to remove their forces. This will end today. You will have your big moment because you have such a good relationship. So since you have that good relationship, Putin will listen to you. So let's try. Why wait? Let's do now. Put the ball in Trump's court. Let him reach out to you. Let him present the plan to you. You were there as a prop. I don't know, maybe you're a big fan. From what I hear, you're a big fan of Trump because he became president, because he was a TV star. You were a TV star in Ukraine. You became president. You have that sort of a thing. Now, you represent a goddamn country where people are killed. People are killed daily. This is a regular day, a school day, regular school day in Ukraine. Where do I have this picture? I don't have it. Well, you're lucky that you didn't see it. Maybe I have it. Let me see. I do have it. You'll see it. Loading. Here we go. This is a regular school day in Ukraine. Today. Kid went to school. School was bombed. Well, now we're going to help you a little bit, buddy. This is what Zelensky represents when he stands to this buffoon and listens to his propaganda shit show. He's going to end something in 24 hours. He's going to call his buddy Putin. That is what his buddy Putin doing. Next moment, where Trump decided to show him his infamous pictures from his assassination attempt, praising the photographer who took a picture of a bullet. Take a look.
Pulitzer Prize winner. Let's go. Keep him moving. He took the bullet. Is that a bullet? He actually got the bullet. He got a picture of the bullet. He's quick. He's fast as a bullet, right? Very well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We have a big team. Didn't know I was.
Thank you, guys.
So when he was showing the pictures of the bullet, why didn't Zelensky, as a current head of state, who has all the power to sign a document and actually that will count, which Trump doesn't, and he's a felon, he can't even vote. This fella can't vote for himself. That is that fella. That is this fella who you praise so much, who will end your war. That is your fella. This one.
Goes up to that barbell. Boom. Bing, 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 bing.
That's the guy who you think will end your war. That will help these kids. The big boom boom guy. That's him. So, another thing that Zelensky could have said when we're talking about that bullet and the picture and the prize winner, photographer, whatever. We have a great movie in Ukraine called 20 Days of Mariupol that won an Oscar, Mr. Former President. We would love to send you a copy so you can see. They won an Oscar. So they show a lot of bullets too, where people actually die. Don't have the time to slap a pad on something where they were hit. 20 Days in Mariupol. Recommending. An Oscar-winning movie. But no. After whatever the meeting, here's the briefing.
You envision is fair?
Well, it's too early to say that. I mean, I have my own ideas and...
Excuse me? Was the invasion fair? It's too early to say you have your vision? Okay, let me have my tea. Let's watch again.
Vision is fair.
Well, it's too early to say that. I mean, I have my own ideas, and I'm sure the president definitely has his own ideas, but it has to be fair.
This war shouldn't be started, and I think that the problem that Putin killed so many people, and of course we need to do everything to pressure him to stop this war, and he's on our territory. That is the most important to understand. He's on our territory, and how to stop the war, to pressure him as we can, we have to do it.
And do you think the U.S. is the best?
The U.S. is the leader. U.S. is the leader of support. U.S. is the leader in the world, and of course we value the support of the United States. We're thankful to the United States people of America, and of course we understand that United States can be the leader through any negotiation. You know that we have the peace summit, and we want to organize the second one, and we count on this support.
I know you're both in a rush. Last question. Will there be another meeting in the near future between you?
Could very well happen, but I think the president said it the best. This is a war that should have never happened. It should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened. It's a shame, but this is a war that should have never happened, and we'll get it solved. It's a complicated puzzle, very complicated puzzle, but we'll get it solved, and people get on with their lives. Too many people dead. Too many beautiful cities. I've seen those cities. They're so beautiful, and they, I don't know how you can ever rebuild them the way they were. It's not possible.
You have to come, by the way, to see our city.
I will. It's a beautiful country, beautiful weather, beautiful everything. But we have to get this over with. Yeah. But it's a war, and the president agrees.
Beautiful weather, beautiful everything. Beautiful missiles falling on your head. Beautifully. Beautiful graves, mass graves. Maybe you should check out those. What is this, Grace? You should come to our country. I want to be wrong about this. I will tell you this up front, very officially. I want to be wrong. I want to think that whatever it looked like, I wholeheartedly misunderstood. I hope that Zelensky played chess, not checkers. He did something. He won in all of this, and he's a mastermind, and I'm a dumbass. I hope. I really pray and hope, because this is my country. This is people who I know. their lives are at risk here. I hope to be wrong, but I tell you what I see. Maybe you see something different. Then you tell me. Let's have a conversation. Another clip.
He wants it to end, and he wants it to end as quickly as possible. He wants a fair transaction to take place, and I think, I mean, right now I'm campaigning, so right now I don't have much to do with it other than we're doing very well in terms of the campaign, and I've been saying that I believe if I win, we're going to have a very fair and I think actually rather rapid deal. It should stop, and the president wants it to stop, and I'm sure President Putin wants it to stop.
Really? Is that why he gets the missiles from China, North Korea, and Iran? Is that why? Is that why there is a new deal reported, by the way, by Reuters, that Putin is giving long-range missiles to Hezbollah, wink, wink, for the drones now from China? It's a deal to receive drones from China. The drones would be able to travel 2,000 kilometers and carry 50 kilograms of whatever they need. In return, he's going to give long-range missiles to Hezbollah. Iranian-backed Hezbollah. Same thing, different day. That's the one who wants to end the war. So my question here is, there's also a thing that gives Trump a way out. And so I want to voice two worst-case scenarios, if you will. And then I finish with the best-case scenario. Good? Zelensky, his term ended. Election is postponed because country is in the war. So whatever Trump promised him, he can say it was a legitimate president, because that narrative is constantly coming from Russia. That's why Putin says, I don't want to negotiate with Zelensky. He's a legitimate president. He was not elected. I don't want him to sign any document because it's not going to count. So Trump can take exactly this narrative and say, whatever I promised to him, he was a legitimate president. I don't even know this guy. That's one. Worst thing to be that since Biden, what I told you, is ensuring that Ukraine gets $7.9 billion in equipment before Biden leaves. God forbid, Trump won. Trump steps into power January 20th. And he makes Zelensky surrender, even partially the land or whatever, to Russia. And then Russia becomes the owner of all that equipment, including trained soldiers, and then makes Ukraine fight on behalf of Russia. Then further escalation to Baltic states, to Poland, will become a matter of very short time. That is the worst case scenario. That is the worst case scenario. And it could only be if Trump, God forbid, wins in November. And between November, what Trump just promised you, they work this out exactly until January. So Zelensky somehow will get convinced that by protection from Trump, he will just partners with Putin, whatever. That is the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, Kamala Harris wins. The aid stays intact. Trump buzzes himself into another court seat, meeting or, seating and hearing where he poops himself to sleep and farts, which I truly believe is the most probable scenario. All I have to tell you is vote. Vote, vote, vote. It's not just for us, it's for everybody. Because, if I may quote the Minister of Defense of UK, Lammy, who spoke at the UN. I posted this video on YouTube. Please watch it. It's just 4 minutes. I posted it on my Twitter shitter. So maybe that's why they removed my blue check mark, because I called it a shitter. Anyway, so there he said, he is from Guyana. And he said, look, if I see a terrorist, I call it a terrorist. And if Putin takes over Ukraine, next thing, he's going to tell his friend Maduro, who is a legitimate leader of Venezuela, whose gold reserves are physically in Moscow, because they gave them up, and Wagner Group the brutal Wagner Group is protecting Maduro in Venezuela to go and take over Guyana. And so if we allow the borders, international borders of one country to be renegotiated, if you will, it will spread all over. Vote. To cleanse the palate, here's Zelensky with Kamala Harris. Just for 1 minute, just entertain me. Just watch how different that whole thing was.
Президенте Зеленський, дуже добре вас бачити знову. Це в
So it's translated for Ukrainian demographic. So just when you see the clip of them standing next to each other, her greeting him, it's just different. It's two leaders showing I respect you and your country, and you respect me and my country. And now we're going to talk based on mutual respect. It doesn't say he's the papa and here's the little piss boy. And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to call my boss and let it all figure it out, piss boy. So, stay tuned. That's what advice. Now, what Zelensky does well, although he banned press in Ukraine, he's a blogger, so he blogs. And so I want to show you, it has subtitles, so you will have to be reading. Come close to me, come close if you're on computer or whatever. 3 minutes, 33 seconds, where he describes his entire stay in the United States, what did happen, and so his take, okay? Entertain, please, 3 minutes.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Сьогодні була зустріч з Дональдом Трампом, дуже продуктивна і детальна. Я дуже вдячний. Це загалом був наповнений довгий, надзвичайно важливий тиждень в Америці. Як ми і планували, сьогодні вирушаємо додому після всіх потрібних перемовин. І всі перемовини саме такі, як потрібні Україні. План перемоги представлений Америці, і ми кожен пункт пояснили. Тепер на рівні наших команд ми будемо працювати, щоб наповнити кожен крок, кожне наше рішення. Сильні позиції для України – це швидший мир. Все ключове для України на столі у партнерів, все розглядається, далекобійність, оборонний пакет, санкції проти Росії, кроки щодо російських активів. Ми по всіх темах встигнули попрацювати, готуємось до зустрічі в Німеччині в рамках Рамштайну. Це формат, де разом з партнерами ми будемо йти за змістом пунктів плану перемоги. Дякую президенту Байдену за запрошення. Вчора в Вашингтоні ми з президентом пройшли всі ключові речі, всі ключові рішення. Дякую за прагнення реалізувати саме такий шлях, щоб Україна виграла. Дякую за безпрецедентний військовий пакет та відповідні рішення. Великий пакет, обсяг майже 8 мільярдів. Це підтримує наших воїнів та увесь наш народ. Зокрема, є хороші речі для ППО перед зимою. Були зустрічі в Конгресі США, повна підтримка, обидві партії, обидві палати. Вдячний усім сенаторам, усім членам Палати представників за розмови, за дружні поради, за питання, які дійсно дозволять досягти результатів важливих.
So, what a loud thing. I had to mute it. Much different. With Harris, he looked less pressured, less crowded. With Trump, he was being held hostage and submissive. Why would another country's leader be asked to stand next to a presidential candidate? That's my point. And I understand, Michael, you mentioned that, of course he's the president now. And then Keith said, comment on Twitter mentioned Zelensky does it to avoid Trump retaliation. This is all guesstimations. We don't know. I think let's leave it at that. I present to you videos and footage. Zelensky posted on Twitter I had a very productive meeting with Trump. I presented him our victory plan, and we thoroughly reviewed the situation in Ukraine and the consequences of the war for our people. Many details discussed. I'm grateful for this meeting and just pieces needed. Then, with Harris, I shared the details of the victory plan with Harris. It's very important for us to fully understand and work in full coordination. We must end this war. We must protect our people. We are grateful for America for supporting Ukraine throughout this time. So why don't you refer that it was a productive and great meeting? Wasn't it great with Harris? Anyway, let's move on. I want to be wrong. Trump had a rally after all this meeting, where he addressed, you know how we see the crowds leaving him, but he explained that they're not leaving. They're not leaving. Also pretty deranged, so take a look.
I want to explain something. The people that you see leaving, because nobody ever leaves. And when they do, I finish up quick, believe me. But I couldn't take pictures at the beginning. So I take them at the end sometimes. If I'm late, the plane gets late, you get delayed, lots of things happen. There's a little hurricane going on in Florida, as you know. And so what they do is they say, oh, please come up now at the end of my speech. I said, don't do that. Because it looks like they're leaving, like your husband who owns this place.
Yeah. They're not leaving. And if they're leaving, I finish up really quick. To your comment that, let me see here. She doesn't need the flattery, Maurice. Thank you. She doesn't. But it's really more about if you treat equally. You know, that's all about it. Of course she doesn't. She's going to be a great president. She will be president. Hidden concession stand. I think they're going home, the people. I really love that Kamala nuked his ego with one sentence and he can't get over it. That's my whole point. Kamala Harris made this president, former president, respect her just by walking over and saying, Kamala Harris, wish you a great debate. This guy would not stand next to her, would not look at her. He wants to avoid any debate. That's the guy who was saying, if you're not debating, you're losing. That's the guy. But she has the respect. She has more respect. He has more respect for her than for Zelensky and any guy that licks his butt. Because these people, like Trump, Musk, you name it, they don't even see those who kiss the boot, who lick the boot, whatever. They don't see them even as humans. They only respect strength. So that's my only wish for Ukraine, to start operating from strength. You showed everybody that you stand for yourself. You're not running, you're fighting. Even when the Congress was delaying the aid, you were fighting. You're still fighting. So operate from strength a little bit. Okay? Yes, you're asking for help, but it's for everybody. That was such a power move. Yeah, Chris, it was. Loved it. Okay. Trump is selling watches. So it's only 37 days to shop. Come on. So he at one point he says people can't afford bacon, but they should be affording this type of crap. Look.
Special. I think you're going to love it. My new Trump watches. We're doing quite a number with watches, and the quality to me is very important. The Trump Victory Tourbillon. This isn't just any watch. It's one of the best watches made. It's a tourbillon watch with almost 200 grams of gold and more than 100 real diamonds. That's a lot of diamonds. I love gold. I love diamonds. We all do.
Melania also likes gold and diamonds, I bet. Here's a good ad from Evangelicals for Harris. Take a look. This will make your mood.
But you must realize that in the last days, the times will be full of danger. Men will become utterly self-centered and greedy for money.
My whole life I've been greedy. I've grabbed all the money I could get. I'm so greedy.
They will be proud and abusive.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals.
Uncontrolled and violent.
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
They will be treacherous, reckless, and arrogant.
I am the chosen one.
Loving what gives them pleasure instead of loving God.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet.
Maintain a facade of religion, but but their lives deny the truth.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That's a tough question. I'm not sure I have. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
Keep clear of people like that.
That is a good ad. That is a good ad. They should pay on Fox News, to show it. Show a good ad. I'm laughing. That's so good. That is so good, Chris. That is so good. It makes me want to watch again. Something I don't want to watch again, Netanyahu. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says today at the UN, he suddenly spoke, for Palestinians, this UN house of darkness is home court. They know that in this swamp of anti-Semitic bile, there is an automatic majority willing to demonize the Jewish state on anything. In this anti-Israel flat earth society, at this point, diplomats left and he finished in an empty room. I'm going to show you just a little bit of that, just to show what it is. To put it up front, I think that, it's a complicated issue. Again, when I worked at UN Security Council, it was Middle East questions. So it drags itself. Now, on one hand, Israel has to be supported by US and international community. What they're doing is taking out Hamas, Hezbollah, that are Israel sponsored. Now Russia sponsors them, sends them long-term, long-range missiles. So they're taking on the terrorist organizations. They're not invading Palestine or Lebanon. They're taking on the terrorist organizations that domestic governments made a government. Right? They're not fighting. Palestine is not fighting Hamas. They are protecting Hamas. And certainly those terrorist organizations, they're using humans as human shields. Certainly. Why? Because in the same family, let's say in Palestine, two can be working for Hamas and others are civilians. And so certainly they're protecting their own. And hence they're protecting Hamas. That has been always the issue since 2016 when they got elected into a government, and then they threw away the constitution and they became in power. They pretty much took over the country. And then they offered jobs, right, to people. And this way they became part of the society and society protects them. That what has been already more than 10 years ago. That is what's happening, right? Now, in Lebanon, of course, there's areas, there's Hezbollah and stuff like that. So if you freeze the issue, in a matter of time, again, there will be rockets, there will be, again, this type of stuff. So the idea to shut down those terrorist organizations that are supported by international powers is a good idea. Now comes the but. But part. October 7th, I just really in a week or so, and that's the anniversary when Hamas killed innocent civilians, kids pretty much, in Israel at the music festival, which started all of this. Israel, with unlimited support that Ukraine can only wish for, with unlimited ability to strike deep inside Gaza and whatnot, in a year, I don't know if you ever looked at a map and the size of Gaza, in a year, they did not accomplish all that. But they did, in fact, kill a lot of civilians. We cannot disregard that there are mass graves, that there are kids' mass graves, that IDF soldiers are raping Palestinians that are detained. We cannot also disregard that Hamas, a terrorist organization, can stop it today, same as Putin, by withdrawing, by putting down the arms and releasing hostages, the remains, and whoever is still alive. They're torturing these people, cutting finger by finger. So US is trying to negotiate a peace deal so we can get the hostages out and then start rebuilding Gaza. But for that reason, Hamas has to give up powers. Hamas doesn't want to do it. Now, okay, let's say Netanyahu had unlimited ability to strike into Gaza and wipe it out and all that kind of stuff. but he did not gain in terms of Hamas. He's taking out leaders of Hamas. Today, allegedly, again, he took out the leader of Hezbollah with the strike. So he's trying to kill the demon by first knocking out the head. But since it is a family structure, you kill the head, there's others, right? But the others are so implanted in the society itself because it became part of the public that you can't take them out without taking a bunch of civilians out, which is also the truth. Now, does Netanyahu prolong it? Yes, he does, because he has 31% or so approval among his own people who are sick and tired of this war, right? Because they're girls and boys, everybody serves, and now northern Israel is now being bombed, and Tel Aviv, Tel Aviv not, but Haifa, and they have to evacuate and all that. So they are suffering for a year, so almost a year. So they want this thing to end. Now, he is holding on to power, and the way to hold on to power is to have a state of emergency and state of war. So given that he's very focused on winning over Hamas and taking out Hezbollah, why isn't it happening within this year? What have you achieved? So now the implication is, let's stop the aid to Lebanon. Let's stop the aid to Gaza so they will move away, right? So that is their notion, what they're stating to US and partners. They're sending messages, they say, they're throwing bulletins like, move away, we're going to strike. But they're not moving away, so they're dying. Now, they don't have much to go to. Egypt borders closed. Jordan is closed, so they don't really have place to go to, right? And so then it's sort of this, clusterfuck. So at this point, Biden, at 9:33 p.m. on Thursday, once he returned to the White House from New York, he called for 21-day ceasefire so they could figure out diplomatically what will happen. Netanyahu comes to UN when Biden and everybody has left, right? Given that UK stopped supplying Israel with arms, and Germany even. So they're very much relying on US, but he came in when everybody left, and he delivered this speech. Meanwhile, either during the speech, before the speech, or after, he went to his hotel and he gave a green light to bomb Beirut. And I have a readout from Secretary Austin, our Defense Secretary, Pentagon, in a second as well. So here's the beginning of his speech.
Standing in this podium 40 years ago, I told the sponsors of that outrageous resolution to expel Israel, gentlemen, check your fanaticism at the door. Today, I tell President Abbas and all of you who would shamefully support that resolution, check your fanaticism at the door. The singling out of the one and only Jewish state continues to be a moral stain on the United Nations. It has made this once respected institution contemptible in the eyes of decent people everywhere. But for the Palestinians, this UN House of Darkness is home court. They know that in this swamp of anti-Semitic bile, there's an automatic majority willing to demonize the Jewish state on anything. In this anti-Israel flat earth society, any false charge, any outlandish allegation can muster a majority. In the last decade, there have been more resolutions passed against Israel in this hall at the UN General Assembly than against the entire world combined. Actually, more than twice as many. Since 2014, this body condemned Israel 174 times.
So my question is, they show State of Palestine, empty seats. And who sits there are actually Palestinian government, not the Hamas people. So my question is because I do recall a meeting with the leader of Palestine before Hamas came to power, crying. He was at the UN again this week, crying, asking to take over, intervene, please do something, because they're going to step in, they're not going to leave. I saw it in the meeting at the UN. So how come, because they have also kings and princes and all that kind of stuff too, right? So they have the royal part in Palestine as well, that are moved, of course, away. How come the initial government of Palestine, given the royalty, are not asking international community, are not negotiating with the international community to get Hamas out? In this very, very complicated and devastating situation where one guy, Netanyahu, is using that for personal gains, I think that angle, if anything, could be a good try. But again, this is my 2 cents. Where's the damn shoe throw? We need a shoe throw at the UN, exactly. Meanwhile, this is how today they bombed Lebanon. So they flattened 6 buildings. That's how it looked like after. Reuters reported that communications with senior Hezbollah leaders, including Hassan Nasrallah, have broken down. So they have allegedly confirmed that his daughter was killed in the strike, but certainly him. Now, the lower echelons of terrorist group have no idea what to do or who to report to. They'll find it quickly. Now, Secretary Austin issued a statement just like an hour ago when I went live. He says, quote, "I know that you're seeing reports about a significant strike today in Beirut. I spoke by phone earlier today to my counterpart in Israel, Minister Gallant. The United States was not involved in Israel's operation. We had no advance warning. My call with Minister Gallant took place while Israel's operation was already underway. As you know, this operation took place just a few hours ago, and they're still making assessments, so I don't have any further information or specifics for you at this time. You've heard me say a number of times, an all-out war should be avoided. Diplomacy continues to be the best way forward, and it's the fastest way to let displaced Israeli and Lebanese citizens return to their homes on both sides of the border. I'll be talking with Minister Gallant again soon, and I look to get an update from him when we have that conversation. Thank you." So certainly that's why Trump will not want to keep Secretary Austin, because if military says diplomacy is the best issue, that's not that military that you want to weaponize against somebody. Quickly to the comments. I hadn't seen that. Yeah, I seen. Hamas found traction with extremism. Yeah, horrifying indeed. Okay. Also, Politico brought up a report. They have an interview with Orban's top aide, who said that Hungary would have given in to Russia if it were attacked, such as Ukraine. They would have just given up to Russia. Orban given up to Putin already, I don't know, whatever Putin likes at this point, many times, I bet. So is that news? No, I don't think so. What needs to be reevaluated is why the heck is that buddy in EU? Because he's, vetoing a lot of things for Ukraine. So if he would give up to Putin anytime, maybe let him do this. So now, a bunch of readouts. So the International Coalition calls for release of UN and NGO staff detained by Houthis in Yemen. Is everything okay in New York? On September 25th, representatives from US, UK, Germany, Sweden, France, Netherlands, Yemen convened to address the unjustified detention of UN and NGO staff by the Houthis in Yemen. They called for immediate release of these detainees and urged all nations to utilize diplomatic efforts for their release. In light of the detentions, the UN has decided to limit staff exposure in Houthi-controlled areas. halting non-essential activities and redirecting aid elsewhere. The group expressed strong concern for the welfare of Yemeni people and reaffirmed their commitment to Yemen's unity and integrity. So, also remember how U.S. withdrew from Iraq, right? We're not talking about Afghanistan. I'm talking about Iraq. Let me refresh. So U.S. decided to leave Iraq, and they left. They built there an airport, military airport, and of course facilities where the troops were. And so they announced to Iraqis that we're leaving, right? And they stayed in the part of whatever, like where they slept, let's say the headquarters. The airport was free, and so they're sitting there, and suddenly Russians arriving and claiming that airport. And then media, asking questions like, well, Russians are here, so Iraqis are just giving it up to Russians. Like, is there going to be a confrontation between U.S. and Russia? To which Pentagon issues a statement stating, well, they're at the airport. Airport is a different building. They're not in our building, so we're just going to leave. That's a preview. So today, U.S. and Iraq announced transition of military mission. The governments of the United States and Iraq have released a joint statement outlining the future of their strategic relationship and military collaboration. This follows extensive consultations with the Global Coalition to Defeat ISIS and discussions with the U.S.-Iraq Higher Military Commission over the past 9 months. Key points of the announcement: first, transitioning military mission. The coalition's military mission in Iraq will conclude within the next 12 months, no later than September 2025. They're still in those headquarters. The focus will shift to bilateral security partnerships that support Iraqi forces and maintain pressure on ISIS. Given Iraq's key role in the coalition, military operations aimed at preventing the resurgence of ISIS from northeast Syria will continue until September 2026. And then the Higher Military Commission will establish procedures to facilitate this transition, ensuring the safety of coalition advisors in Iraq during this period. Iraq expressed gratitude to the coalition for its support in defeating ISIS, particularly acknowledging the United States' assistance during challenging times. The coalition reiterated the importance of ongoing efforts to prevent any resurgence of terrorist threats. Both nations look forward to strengthening their relations, advancing security cooperation, and fostering a lasting partnership as outlined in previous agreements and statements made during recent high-level visits. So they're getting out slowly now, given that Iraqis are happy to deal with adversaries. Also, U.S. responded to Iranian influence operations ahead of 2024 elections. If you ask me, if I believe that Iran is hacking Trump's campaign and sending emails to Harris because they want to benefit Harris, or if they even do it to begin with, I doubt it. But here's a readout. The Department of State is coordinating with various U.S. government agencies to address Iran's efforts to influence the upcoming 2024 election and previous operations dating back to 2020. In a significant move, the State Department's Rewards for Justice program is offering up to $10 million for information on 3 cyber actors linked to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and their interference in U.S. elections. Additionally, Department of Treasury is designating 7 individuals in connection with these activities, while the Department of Justice is pursuing further actions against multiple Iranian actors. So, I guess they're searching for them, right? That's how it sounds like. I hope you have a drawdown aftermath when you go to sleep. You know what it is, though? Bibi's speech this morning, he mentioned that ICC has an arrest warrant for him. Bibi was going on about how he's innocent. Yeah, exactly. And Mayor, what's his face? Adams in New York is also innocent. And Trump is innocent. Everybody's so innocent. Oh my God. Anyway, when I go to sleep, Netflix is suggesting me South Korean movies. That's what I do, so some reason. And so it's like a thing where they have series, and when it's translated, it's good. If I have to read subtitles, I fall asleep. But and the movies there are so cute. They're just cute. There's nothing nasty. There's nothing anything. It's just so family related and so decent. I understand might be a propaganda thing, but it just slows your brain a bit down because everything is so nice and happy, So that's what my newest thing to calm down. Anyway, 38th International Drug Enforcement Conference highlights global cooperation against drug trafficking. A full readout will be in your email, so you can read it if you're interested. They talk about the Greek Minister of Citizen Protection underscoring the strong collaboration between DEA and Greek authorities in tackling drug trafficking networks, and they also describe like the detail how they did that. So if you're into this, it will be in your email, onest.substack.com. It's free. Get it right here. So now this is the nerdy, juicy part. So Pete Buttigieg today released a report for July 2024 air traffic highlights, air travel consumer report. And so the U.S. Department of Transportation has released its air travel consumer report for July 2024, providing some key insights. Now, it's really interesting. They started, so that's the entire domestic, operated domestic flights, July 22 through 24, operated, scheduled, canceled. So they provided this entire ranking. So in July 2024, airlines operated 657,233 flights, marking 5.47% increase compared to July 2023. However, the cancellation rate rose to 2.9%, up from 1.3%. Well, that's hurricanes and all that kind of stuff. The year-to-date cancellation rate stands still at 1.7%. So then they started ranking lowest cancellation rates. First, number one was the lowest, right? Southwest Airlines, second, Alaska Airlines, and Hawaiian Airlines, because they probably have one flight a day, right? And then highest cancellation rates, Delta, Spirit, and Frontier. So they said on-time performance, the best were Hawaiian Airlines, Alaska, and Southwest, and the lowest performance, Spirit, Frontier, and American Airlines. Then they talked about baggage handling and about them losing baggage. And so mishandled wheelchairs and scooters, tarmac delays, complaints and consumer protections. So I'm going to have that like a table thing in your email so you can take a look. It's really entertaining. The Biden-Harris administration has implemented significant changes to enhance airline consumer rights, including automatic cash refunds for passengers and transparency regarding airline fees. Key initiatives include airline customer service dashboard. And if you're flying, if you're interested to check it out, it's at flightrights.gov. Flightrights.gov. So that's your airline customer service dashboard. Then new rules on family seating and compensation for flight disruptions. Pretty much you don't have to pay to be seated next to each other. A commitment to modernizing consumer protection mechanisms. The report underscores the DOT's commitment to ensuring a reliable and consumer-friendly air travel experience. So, we're good? Next readout. Secretary Blinken hosted Global Health Security Ministerial. So today, he convened a gathering of 20 foreign ministers, senior diplomats, and leaders of international organizations for Foreign Ministry Channel for Global Health Security Ministerial. So the key discussions were strengthening the response to Mpox. I think it's the pox, right? The regular one. Following declarations of a public health emergency of continental security by the Africa CDC and public health emergency, participants discussed coordinated efforts to improve disease surveillance and clinical support. Now, also enhancing global health security architecture, delegates welcomed the amendments to international health regulations made at the World Health Assembly in May 2024 and expressed support for timely negotiations on the pandemic accord. So pretty much what they're doing is, given COVID and giving everything we learned, they are adjusting the system. So the countries could be informed faster and the regulations can be implemented faster. So they're creating this a coalition of 21 countries that are working together and will have the same standards, right, to address a pandemic or any type of disease outbreak. So, financing and resource coordination. So, the discussion included the need for predictable financing for pandemic prevention and preparation. The pandemic funds allocation of 128.9 million for mpox response efforts was praised, emphasizing the importance of strengthening cross-border surveillance and laboratory capacities. And then they talk about the future, how they will be addressing specific infectious diseases, enhancing global health training for diplomats, coordinating health capacity building efforts in various regions. And why, for instance, for diplomats? Because how did COVID spread? Right? People were traveling all around and coming back home and not reporting anything, right? And then that's how everybody ultimately got sick, or the majority. So for that reason, it's important to have some rules in place that would be coordinating it. These and many others are the progressive policies people complain Biden isn't doing. So confusing because it's not reported. I'm talking about it. I can bet nobody talked about it today. I can really bet. Because I showed the newsletter to folks at the Conference for Foreign Relations. All those people, the hidden gray-haired figures of our politics. I opened up our newsletter and I said, did you hear this? 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 No, 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 no. Subscribe. Not because it's me. I'm just publishing this thing. I'm not making it up. I'm just publishing stuff. That's the mere, the bare minimum I can do. I just translate it in sort of like a normal kind of voice or conversation. But measles is mumps. Oh, really? Okay, Chris, thank you. I have to look it up. I don't know what it is. I can't wait to hear this. Oh, that was about the planes. Many others are progressive. Okay, we talked about it. Yeah, so to that point, it's really important to have actual news because we're so stressed. Trump this, Harris this. I get all these reports from Trump thing. I already deleted right away without reading because it's like it costs you energy. She has to leave the border. Well, how dare her to stay at the border? Why is she talking at the border? There's 30,000 people murdering and God. Okay. Now let's talk about lastly about VP Harris. So Vice President Harris visited Arizona to address border security. She traveled to Douglas, Arizona, and visited U.S. Customs and Border Protection's Raul Castro Port of Entry. There, she received official briefings on the operations of the port and the progress made in disrupting the flow of fentanyl through the southern border. She was joined by Senator Mark Kelly and Attorney General Chris Mays. Now, in her speech, VP Harris announced that if elected president, she would take further actions to ensure the border remained closed between ports of entry. She stated that she would implement stronger emergency authorities that those in place due to the Biden-Harris administration's executive actions. Specifically, she indicated that it would become harder to lift the emergency authority by requiring that the average number of border crossings achieve a further drop below the current level of 1,500 before the shutdown could be lifted. So pretty much close the border between ports of entry, which is a given, and then never let the number go up in terms of border crossings. Now, Harris-Walz's campaign launched historic weekend of action to mobilize voters. Wait a second. Where do I have I have the whole readout. Wait a second. Oh, yeah, here. Harris-Walz's campaign unveiled comprehensive border security plan. That's what I wanted to read out next. So, given her speech at the border, they also released a fact check. And so the Harris-Walz campaign has outlined a robust plan aimed at securing the U.S. border and reforming the immigration system, prioritizing safety, legal pathways, and community support. So here are quickly the key components. First, Enhanced border security measures. VP pledges to maintain a close border between ports of entry. We just talked about it. Second, consequences of illegal crossings. The campaign emphasizes strict enforcement, ensuring that individuals who cross the border unlawfully face apprehension, removal, and a 5-year re-entry ban. Repeat offenders will face felony charges, and those who cross unlawfully will be barred from seeking asylum. Third, bipartisan border security bill. Harris intends to revive bipartisan border security bill previously negotiated with Biden, which was obstructed by former President Trump. This legislation aims to bolster border security by adding personnel and resources, including 1,500 Border Patrol agents, 4,300 asylum officers, and new drug detection technologies. Then, strengthening prosecution against criminal organizations. The campaign plans to double the Department of Justice's budget to prosecute transnational criminal organizations and human traffickers. This includes extraditing cartel leaders and increasing penalties for trafficking crimes. Then also, Harris seeks to enhance screening and vetting procedures to prevent dangerous individuals. Also, recognizing that illegal migration is a transnational issue, Harris will foster partnerships with Mexico and other Latin American countries. She aims to tackle the opioid epidemic, specifically to the surge of fentanyl-related overdoses. She plans to increase law enforcement resources at the border. And the plan also addresses the need for comprehensive immigration reform. Humanitarian parole visas, pathway to citizenship, and protection for dreamers. Again, all of that is laid out in detail in the newsletter, so you have the entire weekend to read it. I'm not going to bother you now on Friday with this. Lastly, about the campaign. So the rules for the upcoming vice presidential debate has been laid out. They're talking for 2 minutes. They have 1 minute to rebuttal. The difference, only the mics are hot. So if Vance wants to have, an episode, we will hear it. CBS that hosts that in New York is having the ability to shut down the mic or keep it hot. And then they didn't mention any fact checking. So that is my big concern. If you want to join our VP debate virtual watch party, it starts actually at 8:30 p.m. with the pregame. So RSVP required, so we don't have trolls and bots. But you can RSVP. Our party is officially listed on the DNC page, which is, again, in your newsletter. Just RSVP there. They send you reminders and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Second gentleman will be traveling to Portland and Menlo Park. So on Sunday, on the 29th, Emhoff will be in Portland, Oregon to deliver remarks at campaign events. And then later that evening, he will be in Menlo Park, California. I know some of you asked how to go there, so I'm going to ask them and see, because all I have is a media credential thing. But I'll ask them how you can join. And then, what else do I have? Border security, already talked about it. So Harris Walz's campaign, lastly, launched historic weekend for action to mobilize voters. The Harris campaign is set to launch its largest weekend of action to date, aiming to mobilize battleground voters with over 25,000 volunteer shifts and 4,000 events across key states. The initiative is positioned as a significant counter to the Trump campaign's limited field operation, with Republican leaders expressing concerns about their lack of grassroots effect. Well, he's relying on the Twitter shitter owner, so what grassroots? With just 39 days until the election, the campaign is activating its diverse coalition and implementing innovative strategies to reach voters. The weekend's events will feature a variety of activities. Now, check this out. Wine, Women, and West Wing. I want to join that one. That gathering will be in Georgia. So if you're in Georgia, go ahead. a freedom brunch in Pennsylvania, and politics in the playground in Minnesota. Cute. Prominent surrogates for Harris-Walz campaign will also be actively participating, including Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, Congresswoman Velasquez, former Jacksonville Mayor Alvin Brown, and producer Shonda Rhimes, among others. The Bridgerton, maybe they're going to do Bridgerton. Anyway, one can dream. This extensive mobilization reflects the campaign's commitment to engaging voters across the battleground states leading up to the election. And I mentioned earlier that Governor Walz, Coach Walz, is going to a football game, Minnesota versus, please don't ask me. Was Michigan? I think so. And everything is really targeted to for youth to sign up and vote, to register and vote. Then President Biden proclaimed September 28th, tomorrow, National Public Lands Day. And so in his proclamation, he invited citizens to engage in various activities that celebrate and protect nations' natural resources. This is a day to honor the lands and waters that support and sustain us, the president stated, highlighting the importance of collective action and safeguarding the environment for future generations. So if you want to celebrate in some type of way, please do. And then he declared September 29th, he proclaimed a Gold Star Mothers and Families Day. He calls on all government officials to display the U.S. flag over government buildings and encourages citizens to show their gratitude through flag displays and ceremonies. This day serves as a solemn reminder of the courage and resilience of Gold Star families, reflecting the nation's deep respect and appreciation for their sacrifices. So, on this note, I think I told you everything I knew. Do we know if campaign is planning on hosting any town halls? Who mentioned that? Wait a second. Brandon, was that because we had a town hall, our own town hall? So Yemi, join us next time. We will be streaming. We're gonna do a part like the watch party streaming for a town hall with Kamala Harris on October 10th. So tune in. And we figured out we're gonna be streaming the debate between Ted Cruz on October 15th. So those will be the watch parties. I'm going to send you an email on our website, onestnetwork.com. We have a button now. It's called events, and there will be all the events, and you can RSVP. You can also create your login, and so you have all your data there. I don't save your email even. You just do you. Tap RSVP so you get reminders when to watch. So it's pretty cool. Other questions? The downside in school football game is suddenly going to be a nightmare to get through security for regular season. I know. That thing, I found out more information about Lula, right? So I was at the Clinton Global Initiative, and Lula, Brazilian president, had to receive an award from Clinton's. But then, surprisingly, President Biden wanted to surprise Jill Biden, and he joined the conference, and he then got an award from Bill Clinton. And so Lula had only 20 minutes of time to come in, get the award, and then he was due to join Bill Gates to get another award. What a life. Anyway, so he came in, and there's security, of course, the Secret Service. And you had to strip down, not naked, but jackets and everything, and they had to touch you up, and then you had to go through the screening, and then the dog would sniff you and your bag and everything. So Lula saw that and said, listen, do I have to do it? They said, yes, and all your people. But how about you just go yourself and everybody else waits, so you will be fast? And he said, listen, I am an official, I'm a diplomat, I'm a leader of a country. Hell no. And he turned and left. So to avoid any rumors that he didn't pass through security. So he didn't even go through security. Wait a minute. Do you not like Michigan? I like Michigan. Why I don't like Michigan? I said, I don't know where he will be. So it's Minnesota versus, I don't know, which I remembered. Was it Michigan? No, I like Michigan. Of course I like Michigan. I have little friends in Michigan. Yes, was me. Yes, Brandon, you told us about the town hall. So thank you so much for joining. Have a fabulous weekend. It's already 10:48 p.m. Oh my God. I hope I didn't join you in your bedroom. Or are you falling asleep? You take your laptop with you. Anyway, okay. Have a really good night. If we have any breaking news, I will be joining or coming live to report. But I think that we're all calming down through this weekend, and it's just going to be peaceful because of the UN thing. It ends finally, and next week we're back to normal schedule. There will be some other events, and of course the debate on the 1st. Whether we definitely have our watch party. We definitely have our pre-warm thing. We have, which will be fun because I have a compilation of JD Vance's shit show, JD Vance's videos and Waltz's videos, which like we can compare. So that's part of the pre-game thing. And the idea is to make it like a football thing. Feel me? And then we do the debate. And I might be reporting from CBS, but CBS thinks that we're too liberal. So I'm fighting with them to get into their building because they think I'm liberal. I am. Well, I'm Democratic. So, okay. And I got my blue check mark back. Well, I don't know for how long because it's a shitter. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Bonnie. Have a great weekend too. Yes, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Keith. Get some rest and have a great weekend. You've been working hard. Oh my God, this week, crazy. Start the official program at 7:30 a.m. and then overnight I'm writing the newsletters. And I have to like get up and dance because otherwise I fall asleep. So all your newsletters are written while dancing. So if that entertains you. Can't wait for VP watch party. Yes, Chris. Thank you. I can't wait either. Oh my God, you are honestly honest. I am. Unfortunately, I am. For politics, it didn't work out with UN. I called them a waste of real estate before I left. So still think so, though. Very waste of real estate. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. See you on Monday. Let's get ready for the debate prep. Debate watch party. We have, I think, about 3,000 people sign up. Let's see who shows up. But our people, us here, we're going to show up. That's what it counts. Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.